Good evening. This is Susan, and this is Susan's Ramblings. I have several recipes for you today, but first I would like to comment on this. Thank you, Linda Prepper Kitchen, for sending the new subscribers over. I really appreciate it, and it made my day. And welcome, new subscribers. I hope you find something of use in these recipes. So now, I made a big stock-up haul last week. And no, I don't generally do my hauls because I don't know who's going to see them. And as far as I'm concerned, it's just for me and my family. And the less people who know them, the better off we're going to be. That's just my opinion. And I don't stock up that often, okay? But I made a huge stock up last week. And so I'm out of money until the end of this week. But just because I don't have money to buy anything doesn't mean I can't prep. And so what I have been doing is, anybody who's followed this channel at all knows I dehydrate, and I dehydrate a lot. So I've been dehydrating, and I can. And I do a lot of that. So that's what I've been concentrating on this week. One of the recipes, I've got cabbage in the dehydrator now, and I got leeks in the dehydrator. They'll be coming out, and I'm not too sure what I'll be putting in. I'm assuming I'll probably be starting my potatoes. Alright, so here's the recipes for starting. I am going to give you 2 canning recipes first. These are the recipes that I've tried that I canned up this past week. Okay? Calico beans, 2 pounds of bacon chopped, 2 pounds of hamburger. By the way, bacon, it wasn't 2 pounds of bacon. I think it was probably 1 pound of bacon. I have several packages of bacon in my freezer, and I just grabbed one. Okay? 2 pounds of hamburger. I didn't use hamburger. I used ground turkey. 2 onions chopped. 2 cans of Bush's baked beans. I didn't use Bush's baked beans. I used a store brand baked beans. 2 cans of pork and beans. No, I didn't use pork and beans either. I used vegetarian beans. 2 cans of kidney beans drained. That I did use. 2 cans of white beans. Nope, I used black beans. 1 cup of ketchup. 2 tablespoons of dried mustard, ground dried mustard. 1½ cups of brown sugar. 2 teaspoons of vinegar, it's optional. Salt and pepper to taste. In a large skillet, over medium heat, fry the hamburger, the bacon, and the onions until the hamburger is no longer pink. Drain your fat. In a large mixing bowl, combine the baked beans, the pork and beans, the kidney beans, and the white beans. Stir in the ketchup, mustard, brown sugar, and vinegar if you desire. Add the meat mixture. Mix thoroughly, adding your salt and pepper to taste. Fill the jars, leaving 1-inch headspace. Debubble, fill the jars if still needed, and then you pressure can it. Pints, 75 minutes, or quarts, 90 minutes. I do the pints because it's just me, so I did 75 minutes. By the way, when I substituted all this, just because a recipe says that it has such and such an ingredient in it doesn't mean that you have to use that ingredient. You use what you have got available to you. That doesn't mean that you run out to the store and get your 2 pounds of bacon, and heaven knows how expensive bacon is nowadays. Hamburger, too, is expensive. And I found ground turkey, and it's cheaper than the hamburger, so I went with ground turkey. Bush's baked beans, I haven't priced them out for I don't know how long. I would assume they'll probably be up there too. And so I used the store brand baked beans. Worked out just fine. And in our senior boxes, we get pork, a vegetarian pork and bean. Same thing, except they don't have the pork. And I had black beans. I didn't have white beans. So I substituted all those things, and it came out just fine. Okay, my second one. I love olives. 2 olive Pico Gallo, I guess it's called. I don't know what it's called. That's your problem. 1 large jar of green olives sliced. 2 cups of black olives sliced. 2 onions chopped. 10 Roman tomatoes diced. And I used my canned tomatoes. Sorry. I took the juice off them, but I used the tomatoes themselves, and I used the juice for a different option. 1/4 cup of lemon juice, 1/4 cup of lime juice. I didn't use lime juice. I didn't have lime juice. 1 small leaf, a bunch of fresh cilantro. I don't have that. I didn't use it. I used parsley instead. And yes, I know it's probably not as Mexican as it's supposed to be, but that's the way we like it. Garlic powder to taste, and onion powder to taste, and cumin to taste. You add all your spices a little at a time to get your desired flavor. You don't dump it all in at one time. Combine all your ingredients and mix it thoroughly. Put it in your jars, leaving a 1-inch headspace again, and you water bath it for 10 minutes. Tomatoes can be water bathed, okay. When serving, add diced avocados if desired. I don't take avocados either because they're too expensive for me. When I have to pay $2 for 1 avocado, I'm sorry, that's way too expensive for me. Okay, those are my 2 canning ones. 2 of the several ones that I have done. Right now, I am going to go with the rice seasoning mix. Now we're going to go into seasoning mixes. I have many spice blended and so forth. I don't know where all these recipes came from. I've been cooking for over 50 years. And, sorry, I don't remember where the recipes came from. Okay? 3/4 cup chicken bouillon granules or a crushed bouillon cubes. 1/2 cup dried parsley. 2 tablespoons of dried onion flakes. 1 tablespoon of dried basil. 1 tablespoon of dillweed. 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. 1 teaspoon of lemon pepper. 1 teaspoon of seasoned salt. Omit if you're using the crushed bouillon cubes. Mix all ingredients together thoroughly. Store in an airtight container. And I would like to say to leave a headspace in your container because there are no anti-clumping, caking ingredients in this spice. And you will have to shake them to mix them up, okay? Otherwise, the heaviest ingredients will fall to the bottom. And you will have, they won't taste very good. So shake it up, okay? And to use 2 cups of water, 1 cup of rice, and 3 tablespoons of seasoning mix. Bring the water to a boil. Add the rice and the seasoning mix and cook until the rice is tender and the water is absorbed. Okay. Onion soup mix. I use this one a lot too. 3 tablespoons of dried minced onions. 2 tablespoons of beef bouillon powder. It says you can substitute 3 to 4 crushed bouillon cubes. You know, I substitute a lot, so I don't have to run to the store. 1 teaspoon onion powder. 1 teaspoon salt, but you omit if you're using the bouillon cubes. The bouillon cubes are really salty, and the bouillon powders aren't, okay? 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. You mix together your ingredients thoroughly and you store in an airtight container. To use as a flavoring, start with 1 teaspoon and go up until you reach the desired flavor. In any of these spice mixes that I'm giving you, don't start out with a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons or so forth or so forth. Start out slowly and then keep adding. And once you hit your desired flavor, then write it down so you know what to do the next time. For a dip, and this, I use it just for flavoring. I don't use it as a dip. 1/2 cup of mayonnaise, 1/4 cup of sour cream, or you can use yogurt, either plain yogurt or Greek yogurt, and 1 teaspoon of onion soup mix. Combine all your ingredients and allow to chill at least 1 hour for the ingredients to meld. Okay, we're going into spice blends. I say spice blends, but later on, as we get on a little bit further, you'll find out there's not too many spice blends. Yes, there's spice blends there, but I stuck other recipes in there. Neely's dry barbecue rub. This is a copycat recipe. 1/2 cup paprika. You can either use smoky or sweet. I use the smoky. 3/4 cup sugar, either white or brown. I usually use brown. 3 3/4 tablespoon of onion powder. 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, which is optional. 1 teaspoon of black pepper, optional. You mix all the ingredients together, store in an airtight container. Leave the headspace at top, okay? Leave the headspace in all of these seasoning blends and seasoning mixes. To use, rub your mixture on the meat before roasting, and I've used it on all kinds of meat: pork, beef, chicken. Guess I haven't used it on fish, but otherwise. Lemon pepper. 2 heaping tablespoons of dried grated lemon peel. 2 tablespoons of black pepper, and 1 tablespoon of salt. There again, you mix all your ingredients thoroughly and store in an airtight container. Mary's Nest house seasoning. I follow several channels on YouTube. Mary's Nest is one that I really like. So anyway, her house seasoning. 2 tablespoons of paprika, sweet or smoky. Again, I use smoky. 2 tablespoons of salt. 1 tablespoon of freshly ground black pepper. I usually don't have the freshly ground black pepper, so I just use plain. By the way, when you're using all these spices, and if they've been in your cupboards for a while, and they seem kind of blah or bland, roast them. Put them in a frying pan and heat them up so you kind of toast them, and that will revive your spices. Okay, and they go a lot longer than what is actually put in on your date in there. They go up to 1 year to 5 years. But like I said, if they start to get brown and they lose their flavor, heat them and they revive your flavor. Okay, so you don't have to throw it out. I don't know where I was on this one. Oh, black peppers. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, and 1 teaspoon of dried parsley. Mix them all together and put them in an airtight container. Ranch dressing mix. I use this one a lot too. 2 tablespoons of dried parsley, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of dried dill, 1 teaspoon of dried chives, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of dried minced onion, which is optional. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Depends on what I feel like. Mix all your ingredients thoroughly. Store in an airtight container. And to use: 1/2 cup mayonnaise, 1/4 cup sour cream, or use your Greek yogurt or plain yogurt there, 1 teaspoon of dressing mix. You combine all ingredients and you mix them thoroughly. You chill before using. It says, I often use the mix and add the mix to chicken or beef. It adds an additional layer of flavor. Pumpkin pie spice. 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground allspice, 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/8 teaspoon of ground cloves. Combine all these ingredients, store in an airtight container. Italian seasoning mix. This is Mary's Nests again. 1/4 cup dried oregano. If I know where they come from, I will put them down, the channels down. 2 tablespoons dried marjoram. 2 tablespoons of dried thyme. 1 tablespoon of dried basil. 1 tablespoon of dried rosemary. Or 1 tablespoon of rub sage. Taco seasoning mix. This is one I use a lot too. 1 tablespoon of chili powder. 1 tablespoon of onion powder. 1 tablespoon of ground cumin. 1 tablespoon of ground coriander. 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. 1 tablespoon of paprika, whether sweet or smoky. 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. The cayenne pepper will depend on the amount of heat you desire to either add more or less. Okay, there's that one. We're going to cover these pretty fast. By the way, these will all be written down in the description box. Okay? Here's another one. I really like this one. This seasoning mix. I've been using it for years. Paula house seasoning. 1/2 cup of salt. 1/8 cup of black pepper. 1/8 cup of garlic powder. Apple pie spice. 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. 1 teaspoon of ground allspice. 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. And 1 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, which is optional. Your steak seasoning. I'm not giving the combine these ingredients and so forth and so forth. You know, after we say that a few times, we know that. Steak seasoning. 2 tablespoons of black pepper. 2 tablespoons of salt. 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. 1 tablespoon of onion powder. 1 tablespoon of crushed red pepper, which is optional, or use less, depending on your heat. There again, combine all your ingredients. Alright, we'll go one more page. Old Bay seasoning. 1 tablespoon of ground bay leaves, and this you ground yourself. 2.5 teaspoons of celery salt. By the way, you know, you can make your own celery salt. All you do is bury some celery and some salt. Same way with garlic salt. Bury some garlic and some salt. And let it set for several months, okay? And you will have your celery salt and your garlic salt. I would say we could probably do the same thing with onions. I haven't tried the onions, but I have tried the celery and the garlic. I think, well, maybe I'll try onions within the next few days. 1.5 teaspoons of dried mustard. 1.5 teaspoons of black pepper. 3/4 teaspoons of ground nutmeg. 1/2 teaspoon of ground cloves. 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. 1/4 teaspoon of ground mace, which is optional, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground cardamom, which is also optional. See how many spice blends you can make with just your basic spices. That's why I just have basic spices. I can make up whatever blend I want by having those few basic ones. Okay. Poppy seed dressing. 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. 1/4 cup of apple cider or white wine vinegar. 1 tablespoon of honey. 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard. 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of poppy seeds. 1/8 teaspoon of garlic powder. 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Combine all the ingredients in a jar with a tight-fitting lid. Shake your jar to combine your ingredients and you refrigerate to store. You can use, a lot of times I got the apple cider vinegar, but a lot of times I will just use white vinegar. There again, you substitute what you have. You make these seasoning blends the way you want them to be, not the way the whole recipe says. It's up to you. You can change any of these recipes around to suit you and your family and your taste. Okay, that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good evening. God bless you, and bye-bye.